Hi, Dave here, and we have a new episode in the art review series. And this time we're going to take a look at the work of Feng Zhu. Now, Feng Zhu is a very ancient. Has been here for a while, and I believe back in the day when there weren't a lot of concept art type of videos on YouTube, he was one of those kind of prominent, very consistent content creators when it comes to concept art. I wouldn't classify him as a YouTuber, but he did post a lot of. I mean, he is still posting till this day content in his kind of Feng Zhu Design School YouTube channel account, and he provides a very good base of free education in that channel, and I think a lot of us in this kind of area are heavily influenced by this guy, and yeah. So thankfully, unfortunately, Feng Zhu doesn't have his own portfolio website or art station. However, there is this kind of compilation by iamag.co. It's kind of magazine, I think, or something, maybe, where they compiled some of the artwork of Feng Zhu. Now, what's fascinating about Feng Zhu is, first of all, he has a design studio, Feng Zhu Design, but he also has a school, Feng Zhu Design School, I believe, in Singapore. And yeah, the thing about Feng Zhu's work is that he often does not provide like full resolution kind of images. They're kind of compacted, usually under I don't know, 1440 px by whatever. It doesn't really go past 1920, and even 1920 by 1080 kind of artwork is very rare to see in his work, at least in his online work, because he does try to he produces or publishes a more compacted version, smaller version, and I think it does work. It reminds me of John McCoy's work. If you check out his ArtStation or his portfolio website, they do tend to not provide the biggest resolution, because I think it makes sense. It helps you kind of see things from afar, and you don't actually have to see every single kind of stroke. It's really more about the idea, which I do kind of think is very enough. Like, to me, that's enough. So we'll take a look at some of his memorable illustrations or artwork. Now, of course, there isn't kind of a date for this kind of for these pieces of his, but as you can see, this is a train, and I think he does this thing where he takes a screenshot of an old game, and then he kind of makes a newer version of that in kind of a throwback in a concept art kind of way. And yeah, another game, and then he tries to make his own version. And he also has this thing where he does use I think people know that Feng Zhu has a favorite brush, the flat brush. I think it's a a very old Photoshop default painting brush, because I don't see it often nowadays. But yeah, I think one of the reasons why I sometimes use the flat brush, kind of a rakish, painterly flat brush, is because of Feng Zhu. As you can see right here, you can see some of the kind of flat strokes, and it actually looks kind of cool. As you can see, this is some kind of old game, and then he kind of made a new version of it in some way, or was inspired by some kind of old game. He's obviously from a different time. I think he's like 2 decades older than me. I think he was born in 1977 or something. I think so. So this guy is like 2 decades, has 2 decades ahead of me. Is 2 decades ahead of me or something. Maybe. So Final Fantasy concept. Oh, he does have what's so cool about Feng Zhu is that he has a lot of videos on his channel, and if you can't afford an actual paid education, I would always recommend checking out Feng Zhu's channel, because he has a lot of content and like hundreds of episodes. I feel of wow, this is cool. And another thing about Feng Zhu is that he's not a very detailed kind of guy. If you kind of focus in on his work, it's very impressionistic in a way. I mean, it's tighter compared to my work, generally speaking. But what Feng Zhu does is that he just focuses mostly on the kind of the big shapes. For example, if you focus on this kind of pipeline, these pipes, he doesn't have to detail every single thing. He just puts in the silhouette, and then if ever he has time, he'll just add some details. And he actually has a very kind of nice way of using photos. He'll usually use it for the colors at the beginning, and then if ever in the very end, once he has established the kind of feel of the entire thing, he will do another kind of photo bash session, and then he'll use that to help with the details. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm not sure if this is kind of a photo bash cloud, or he does have cloud brushes, kind of stamp like. Wow, this is cool. And I love the way he, for example, if you focus on this kind of plant thing here, for the most part, it's just a very basic kind of silhouette of each kind of leaf. And then he adds that slight detail, that kind of highlight on the top, and then a kind of soft light reflection from the ground in kind of each bottom leaf. And that's kind of enough to make it more realistic, and it does work. It's very cool. Another concept, pretty cool. And he's kind of a very, very varied kind of artist. He does sci-fi, fantasy, kind of historical stuff, and I don't think he really has a kind of a focus. He can pretty much do everything. Although I do think he's very more into environment. So this is his kind of take on June, the kind of old film back in the day, and this kind of imagining it as a game. And I do remember this episode in YouTube. Very cool. So this is some kind of different lighting techniques or lighting kind of approaches. Schemes of the same kind of design. Very interesting. Wow. And you can see, even from this view, it's not very detailed, but it's enough to kind of tell what this thing is, to tell the story in some way. And it looks like a full painting to me. Even though if you kind of zoom in, if you had a bigger version of this thing, you could probably see the flat brush strokes. But from here, I mean, you can still see it, but it's not that important. And I think that's why he kind of decreases the image size later on. So I'm not sure what his original canvas size would be, but yeah. Very nice. This could actually be some kind of book cover. And I do like the way he can do portrait kind of stuff, because often in concept art, we have a thing where we focus on kind of landscape oriented stuff, and yeah, I'm not used to painting in this kind of a frame. So he does have this. He does have a certain process generally. If he starts from scratch, he'll have a very kind of basic line work, and then kind of a grayscale, determining the values and the light sources, the kind of the general atmosphere. And then he'll probably photo bash and then start painting over that photo bash. It's a very simple. You know what? I actually forgot to drag some of his work. Shit, but it's fine. I think I have like multiple folders of Feng Zhu's work, because it's very inspirational. And yeah, he's very strokey. Strokey. He's not like other artists where he'll start with a very big silhouette and then he'll paint within that silhouette. Think John Park. Um, John Park is more of the big brush guy, and he can kind of make a very convincing full kind of image in less time. I think. I'm not sure what his actual kind of real world speed is, but if you check out John Park's kind of portfolio, he has a lot of very kind of complete looking sketches, and to me they're kind of concepty. I mean, it's enough to be concept. Feng Zhu is more like a James Spike, where he paints very compactly in a way, or like Frank Hong. If you kind of the guy in the previous episode, the kind of sci-fi illustration stuff, he does paint in this way. Again, line work, grayscale, basic grayscale, and then maybe some photo bash of just a bit, and then yeah. Feng Zhu does save time, excuse me, by using some kind of stamp trees and stuff. It just helps, and I think I should probably make a few to help myself in my own kind of concept stuff. So some vehicle designs, and Feng Zhu does have a certain kind of lean, or has a certain aesthetic. The same way Anthony Jones, when it comes to fashion, Anthony Jones does have a certain type of fashion that he's into. Feng Zhu has a certain kind of look, very spiky look. Wow, that's a great mood piece. So maybe he did start with the wash and then started painting the kind of background and then worked his way towards the foreground. I do remember watching a previous episode of his where he recommended that you do grayscale studies, photo studies, and it just helps you kind of break down the image faster. And yeah. And I think he recommends grayscale because it takes away the color aspect. You don't need color as much to get good at painting. It's it's kind of a next additional step, but you can learn a lot just from painting grayscale stuff. Shit. Sorry about that. So by the way, this is the iamag.co website with the art of Feng Zhu, 60 memorable illustrations and stuff. So saying thank you for this. I'm glad this website is up. Because Feng Zhu again doesn't have a portfolio online. You know what? Maybe he does have a portfolio. The Feng Zhu design, but it's probably not just his, because it is a design studio. So yeah, but I do want to just focus on his more painterly kind of work and some kind of photo bash stuff. And it's pretty good with the clouds. I think he mixes some photos. Maybe he does have a few stamp cloud brushes, because sometimes they look very similar. And again, it does tell the mood. And it's enough. And I lean more towards this kind of thing, painting style. This one's kind of tight actually, the boat. This kind of a platform right here is kind of more of my thing, but the way he paints this part right here, it's very tight. Shit. What is going on? Fuck. Sorry. Damn you motherfuckers. Okay. Wow. And it's pretty good with the kind of branches and stuff. With very natural landscapes. I remember this. He doesn't have a video of this, but maybe explaining it. He does have video of explaining the kind of process, but not an actual kind of time-lapse video. And you can see the way he paints the people and stuff. It's very kind of silhouette-y. It's pretty common also in kind of architecture. Because I remember back in architecture school, when we would draw folks, it would just be kind of silhouettes. Because they're not the main kind of subject. It's more about the environment. And I think the same way goes for concept art. This is kind of enough as a concept for me. And I want this to be kind of the standard of my concept sketches. So this is some kind of photo study of Hollywood. And if you're going to focus in on this painting, on certain parts, very impressionistic. And I do like that. It's kind of my thing. This one's more moody, actually. It reminds me of Borkur Ericsson's work. Eventually, I will be doing a review of his work, of Borkur Ericsson. He has a lot of kind of moody types of paintings. And I remember seeing that an episode of Borkur Ericsson, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, and even his first name, in the Digital Artcast. I think it's a podcast thing, and or digital artcast. Yeah. By the way, check out that kind of podcast. It's kind of a cool way to kind of listen to something in the background. Very awesome. I like the mood. Again, lots of it has some photo bashing to kind of establish the color mood, but he definitely did start, I believe, with a nice grayscale painting. And look at the way it just makes sense, you know. Nice. Paris. Oof. Nice. You know what? I want the Paris also. Some same project thing. Ooh, here you can see the strokes even more. Again, it's very painterly, very kind of very dabby kind of painting style, where it's not very kind of big stroke, expressive with the whole kind of mixer brush. It's slightly tighter, but it's not like finished illustration type. It's more, I would still classify it as impressionistic, personally. Nice. And I like the way he focuses his painting, where he doesn't have to detail every single thing. And for example, you can see the back of this kind of insect monster thing, or bull, maybe. In the back, it's just a very faded out silhouette. Same with the folks here. So there's a nice gradation of. So these are some concepts. No shit. Oh, fuck me. Oh, God. Sorry about that. And I do like the gallery of this website, because once you click on something, you don't have to keep scrolling, because it does make me nauseous. Nice. Okay. Some more mood sketch. Oh, I like the kind of branch right here. I think this is a concept for Jack and the Beanstalk. Feels like Jack and the Beanstalk. I don't know. Nice. And you can see more of the impressionism in the strokes right here in this kind of rock, and in this guy with this camel thing, and the way he simplified the background. And when he paints, he doesn't use a lot of kind of effects of multiple blending modes. I mean, he'll use the blending modes for the photo bash stuff, but when he paints, it's very direct. And he usually he does paintings often with just like one layer, maybe two. And I like the way he explains it. It somehow forces you to paint more efficiently, and when you make a mistake, it just helps you fail more in a way. And because you fail more, you can kind of learn more faster. You have more feedback of what works and what doesn't. So again, more grayscale stuff. So this is kind of a concept of the same thing, but of different versions. So this would be a kind of War of the Worlds kind of inspired thing. And again, he's using the same kind of trees often because of his brushes. And he does like adding those bits of rocks. That's cool. And he's actually pretty good at painting rocks now. Very nice scene. He did use a lasso for this one, for the kind of light. But everything else is just painted in his very standard way. I think if you had a portfolio in this kind of level, you would probably get a job very quickly. And if you had a lot of these, I think it would tell the client or employer that you would definitely be someone who can paint fast and come up with a lot of concepts. I mean, look at this piece. It's so... makes sense, but it's very impressionistic. But it still makes sense, right? And it's pretty good. Obviously, with the painting, I haven't seen a lot of his kind of photo bash stuff. I wouldn't put him in the level of Johnson Ting's photo bash level. Feng Zhu, I think he just adds. It's sort of not a big part of his process. It's part of his process. It helps add more detail, texture, stuff. But he's more painterly compared to, say, Johnson Ting's recent work. Because Johnson Ting can paint, like I said in a past video. More grayscale stuff. Wow. Oh, I love this mood. Look at that. And I love the frame. And I also like the kind of variation of frames. Oh, so it's done. The variation of frames that I guess it's because of the amount of projects that Feng Zhu has, like over decades. And yeah, look at the mood. That is so cool looking. This could actually be a kind of transformer kind of a concept, right? Feels like it. This one, I love the mood. I mean, even a sketch like this or a painting like this, it's good enough for me. And if ever you want to develop it, you can just enlarge this sketch and just add more detail, I guess, or do more photo bash stuff. But for a quick concept like this, I think it's amazing. And yeah, to be able to make something like this in this kind of level, with it not having so many details, while doing enough to get the concept out and get the mood and get the feel of the idea, I think is a good standard to look up to. So if you're kind of struggling, and if you're trying to find your style or your approach, trying to find a nice process for your concept art, I would recommend checking out Feng Zhu. I will provide the links to his like stuff, articles and stuff in the description below. And I do hope you check Feng Zhu out and do subscribe to his YouTube channel, the Feng Zhu Design School YouTube channel. He doesn't post as much, but he's still posting from like sometimes once a month or something, or once every few months. He's constantly updating his school. And if you kind of scroll back to his very early Feng Zhu, his very early videos, and you compare him to him now, it's almost as if Feng Zhu hasn't aged, and it's kind of weird. Like seriously, he hasn't aged. It's like scary and stuff. Maybe his space streams, he's a little slower now, more chill, I feel, but he's still like young. He looks young. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this kind of very quick art review, and I hope you have a good day. Stay free.